This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Brian Peña. I always join the Vito podcast, the best podcast in the United States.
This episode of Tigers Talk is brought to you by our fine sponsor, the Detroit Sports Commission. And since 2001, the Detroit Sports Commission has applied its expert touch to marketing and to selling the Metro Detroit area as a marquee destination for regional, national, and international amateur sporting events. And through the Detroit Sports Commission's help, these events have attracted thousands of visitors and pumped millions of dollars into our local economy. It is why Detroit is now not only the place where champions are made, but also the place where championships are played. To find out more about the Detroit Sports Commission and all of the events they are bringing to our very region, please follow the DSC on Twitter and on Instagram at DET Sports, and make sure to check out the Detroit Sports Commission's terrific website at detroitsports.org. Welcome to the latest, freshest edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. I am your host, Vito Chirco, alongside not my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun, but the legendary Brenden Kudla. Brenden, what are you currently doing, by the way, at Ferris State? Please inform my listeners, and what have you done in the past related to baseball as well?
Current admissions officer at Ferris State University, former executive of the Futures Collegiate League Baseball. It's a summer college league out in Connecticut and up the East Coast. I was actually the GM there before I left to pursue my master's at Ferris, and that's kind of the line of work of where I've been, where I'm at, and I'm ready to go. I'm probably just as geeked up as you are for the Tigers baseball season, and really not too bad so far.
Not too bad so far. Let's start off with Jordy Zimmermann, getting that opening day start in Toronto, and he had a perfect game for a while going as well. How impressed were you with his performance?
I mean, holding the perfect game to the seventh inning, obviously you're a little bit in shock because you don't expect that early going, but in the early season, usually the pitchers do have an advantage. Hitters aren't necessarily tuned up, ready to go. Colder weather. I know they were inside a dome up there in Toronto, but still, it's cold outside. Guys aren't fully adjusted to baseball weather and baseball season. So I expected low run totals in the beginning. Maybe not as low for the Tigers, but seeing Zimmermann go out there and pitch a gem, you hope for that. You need him this year, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come. He did say this was his first healthy offseason in quite a while. So maybe we can sneak back into Washington Nationals, Zimmermann. I hope so, but I just hope he keeps shoving.
Yeah, don't get the hopes up with Jay Zim, okay? Because we've been there, we've done that before with him. We've had our hopes up because he's put together a string of quality starts in the past, including last year. It's the consistency with him and that right-handed arm, because we haven't gotten that since he became a Tiger, Brenden.
Yeah, he hasn't been very consistent. I will say his ERA last year, I believe, was right around a 4.5.
Which for him, right? I mean, is that quality at this point, right?
I mean, if you do the math on it, 6 innings and 3 earned runs is a quality start, and that hashes out to a 4.5 ERA.
It does.
So
yep.
Technically, nationwide, he's a quality starter. I mean, we'll take that as the Tigers pitching staff this year. I kind of like what the Tigers are doing by getting the Matt Moore and the Tyson Ross and those guys for 1-year deals, because as of right now, they're pitching for their careers. They have a lot on the line. Obviously, we can move them at the deadline, but they're looking for a lot more, and I think that's going to project pretty positive for the Tigers this year.
So, Brenden, Matt Moore was good in his first start with the Tigers. Tyson Ross was quality enough. What do you have to say about their performances?
You got to be happy. I mean, you got a bunch of guys that are just grinding out there. They're definitely not the most talented team in the world. That's well documented. But you go into Yankee Stadium, you give up a couple of runs, and Gardner's home run's not a home run in many other ballparks. That one just squeaks out of Yankee Stadium. So you got to be pretty pleased in the early going with your pitching staff. It's the bats that really do have to turn around if that's going to be possible this year with a very top-heavy lineup.
Well, yeah, the offensive output now, that's going to be a concern, I think, all season long. Sad but true for the Tigers in the state that they're currently in. You have Miguel Cabrera who can mash when he's on. thing is, will he be on all season long? Will he avoid the injured list? Not the DL, the IL now. How about that change, too, in itself?
That's a conversation for another time. I got a lot of feelings about that.
I bet you have some feelings about that, too. Maybe a little bit too PC with that. But anyways, Jeimer Candelario has already had a 5-hit game. First career 5-hit game of his career. And a guy that can hit leadoff because he gets on base. Even last year, struggled with the batting average, but who doesn't now? Hit 220-something, I think, by the end of the season, but was doing well with the batting average even to start off the season, really throughout the first half. But as the season went along, the BA went down extremely. OBP still stayed high enough, especially when you consider the other Tigers' bats last season and what they were able to produce OBP-wise.
Yeah, he put together a pretty decent rookie campaign last year. Now you figure he's got a full year under his belt this year heading in. I think those numbers are going to stay up, and he's going to project to be a pretty good ball player in the future. I'm not going to say he's going to be an all-star, but I think he's a solid Tiger that could be one of those familiar faces that's around for quite a while. A 5-hit game off the bat, that's awesome. Keep that going. I would love to see Gardy kind of put him down in that 4 or 5 hole, just not only to give Miggy some protection, not that he needs it, but also to extend the lineup as much as possible. We're limb up there. There's not a lot going on, so you're going to be able to put Candelario to stretch it out and Harrison at the top. That's going to lengthen it out just enough, maybe to 5 batters, and then you got 4 automatic outs toward the bottom.
Yeah, I like how you said that, too. It pretty much is that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mercer had 2 hits the other day for the Tigers, and that was it. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, Candy's a good piece. I think he's going to be great moving forward. I am surprised that the Cubs got rid of him for as little as they did. I know it was a pennant run, but Wilson and Avila, not exactly your go-to law firm if you're going to be picking up talent at the deadline. We'll see what happens.
Slim pickings, to say the least, for the Tigers, with their consistent, steady Freddies in the middle of that order. Cabrera, Castellanos, maybe Candelario one day. And those are the guys that I think will be their 3 most consistent hitters all season long. Yet, Cabrera is susceptible to becoming hurt. I mean, I think he's almost projected to be on the IL at some point this season. Casty could be traded by midseason, by that July 31 trade deadline. So then, what are you left with? Even slimmer pickings, right?
Yeah, you're at that point, you're going to Erie. You're going to the Erie Seawolves. And
Erie AAA teams, really. I mean, collectively, right, for the Tigers' Major League roster at that point.
Yeah, you're going the AA route at that point. I mean, the thing is that gets me going a little bit, or the Tigers have a lot of depth arms-wise in the minor leagues. Now let's look to the field and the bats and what we got, and there's slim pickings down there as well. So it's going to be a long haul if they decide to start shipping off talent. I hope we work on a deal with Castellanos if that's possible. And once the Tigers hit about a 5-7 game losing streak, that's when Cabrera's going to get hurt, go onto the injured reserve list, and he'll be out for quite a while. Just simply my paychecks are still going to go through, and I don't have to play baseball, and I think we're all kind of waiting for that one to happen.
Well, $30 million annually now for Cabrera until 2023, paid handsomely for pretty much doing nothing moving forward if he doesn't want to. And if he gets hurt, well, that could be the case for a guy making that much money annually once again, and you could really value him out war-wise to what? A negative guy, negative war player, or a 1 war player for all of that money? Yeah. I mean, think about the living for doing really nothing on the baseball diamond, too, for the Tigers.
Well, I mean, a lot of that money he's making, it's going to depend on who he's giving it out to. I know there's a lot going on there.
Well, yeah. But a mistress or two or whatever, but yeah.
Other than that
happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you're making $400 million or whatever in your career, I guess that stuff goes on. But in reality, I mean, I don't want to say Miguel Cabrera getting hurt would be a good thing for the Tigers because he's the best piece they have, even over Castellanos and any arm they have in the minor leagues. But if he were to get hurt, you give John Hicks some more reps over there at first base. I think he has the potential to be somebody that could stick around in the majors. I'm not going to give him a high ceiling, but he's a guy that could hit 260 for you and throw out 25 home runs maybe on a good year. Is that going to get you far? Not really, but this Tigers team, you're going to produce. Like Nico Goodrum was the hot spot for the Tigers last year. What he hit? 230?
And he came out of nowhere, too, to hit for power, hit for average for half of the season at least. But then he tailed off, and that was due to happen, right? Yeah. And now what's going to happen with him this season?
Who knows? The early goings, he's okay. I mean, it's so early on, you don't want to make a judgment on many guys. The Tiger I'm most intrigued about, most excited for is Kristen Stewart. I'm just ready to see what's going to happen over there. I think he's a right fielder, and we have him in left. That's not going to do him any justice out there. But with Castellanos being hidden in right, you have to try to hide him somewhere, and you can't put him at DH. So there he is, going to sink or swim in the outfield. I just hope the bat comes around. I mean, he had the big home run in the first series, giving the Tigers the win. That was pretty much all we got run-wise. So
yep.
that's going to be something to
A lot of nothing, really.
Yeah, a lot of nothing for the Tigers in the early going offensively, but that's to be seen. You're in New York, really cold market. You're in Toronto. Yes, it's a dome, but still, you're going outside. There's snow on the ground. It doesn't exactly get you invigorated for baseball, no matter how much you love the game. So hopefully the old adage of when the weather heats up outside, the bats heat up, and that'll be the case here in the next couple of weeks for the Tigs.
So the Tigs, as you put them, split in Toronto in a 4-game set to start off the season, and Kristen Stewart can be credited largely with why the Tigers did a split in that series. And then you see him, though, make the defensive mishap that he did against the Yankees in the Bronx to start off the series with the Bronx Bombers, where he had a ball that just bounced up to him, and he misplayed it horribly. I mean, this is the ball that you and I could have gotten, you for sure, Brenden, as a legendary former De La Salle player and an Elma player, too. I mean, you would have fielded it. A lot of guys would have fielded it with limited to no experience in the outfield. I mean, and then he makes that mistake, Brenden, and then you, I guess, have to bring up the fact that this could be a season-long concern for Kristen Stewart.
The corners in the outfield are going to be a problem.
Yeah, Cassidy and him, big time. I agree.
Oh, that's nothing. The fact that is the big black eye for the Tigers right now is Jacoby Jones is nowhere to be found in center field, and he's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. I know usually there comes some batting average stipulation with the Gold Glove, which I find ironic, so he might not get one, but he's one of those guys out there that's going to be able to clear up some of those wounds. You got to live with Stewart out there and left. Let's look down in the farm system. Let's look around. Who's the best option to go play left field for the Tigers? Nobody. It's going to be him. You're going to have to deal with the trials and tribulations that happen out there in left field and to a degree right field. But hey, hopefully he can bring the stick every day and provide a couple of home runs and give us a few runs for every one that he gives up out there in the outfield. Obviously, it was a bad look yesterday.
It looked horrible. I mean, that's a major leaguer who's not a great outfielder, yet that ball that was hit to him, one bounce, should have been into his glove, and he couldn't even field that, Brenden.
Yeah, like I've met some dogs that can catch a tennis ball.
Dogs, cats, name the animal.
Yeah, like they're out there, they can make that play.
Right.
Stewart messed that one up. I mean, you never know. First game in Yankee Stadium.
Maybe, I don't know what. He had the nerves, and I don't know. I mean, can you blame it maybe on that?
Energy, wants to come up with a big throw even though it didn't really matter. You never know what's going on. Quite frankly, he's in the outfield. He might not have been paying attention either. Who knows? But whatever. It's one mistake. It happens. Hopefully they don't happen too often. I have a feeling they will.
I have a feeling they will too, unfortunately for the Tigers' sake this year.
The Tigers are going to look like the Bad News Bears at some point, but hopefully the pitching staff stays strong and healthy. But even if they're not healthy, you never know. You're going to get looks from Bo Burrows and Vito and those guys. And I've seen projections where Casey Mize is up at the big club at the end of the year. So who knows? It's going to be a fun time if you want to try to call it fun. There's going to be some stressful.
You can use that term loosely, I guess. Fun.
It's going to be fun to see the minor league talent come up. I'm looking forward to going to Toledo and seeing a couple of guys towards the end of the year and seeing what they have as we project forward into what was it? Avila said 2021.
I think 2021 he wants to start winning by, and that means spending some money on this big league club.
Yeah, and I don't think he's done a bad job for as much as criticism he may have gotten. I mean, Jordy Mercer's a good fielder up the middle. Josh Harrison's a leadoff bat. He's a legitimate leadoff bat in the major leagues.
Or it used to be. They can both field. Can they hit consistently enough? Mercer has never had a great stick. Harrison has. I'll give him that much. He was a Jay Hay kid there in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh fans loved him for a while, for a 2 to 3 year stint for himself in Pittsburgh. And then he was kind of the super utility guy, right? Could play third, could play second. Now with the Tigers at second base. But I want to see him pick up the stick and hit the ball consistently and for at least a little bit of power, Brenden.
Yeah, he's been my pick the stick candidate every game
Has he
so
been?
far.
Okay.
Yeah, he
not many probably picking a stick this season and watching the games consistently for the Tigers, but hey, at least you are.
I'm out there trying, and it's okay. He's got a little bit of wheels, but that's the best option I think we have at leadoff. Candelario, I mean, he's got a little bit of speed, but not as much as Harrison. You want him up at the top, and it'll be interesting to see what Gardy does. He's a great manager, regardless of his overall record. He had to deal with a lot of crap out there in Minnesota, developing a team that, quite frankly, was in a very similar situation as the Tigers. So if that gives you any sort of positivity moving forward, knowing he's been through this before and can find the good talent, like he's the one that brought Nico Goodrum over from Minnesota. Obviously, he saw something there, and it paid dividends last year. I'm going to ride him out and see what happens with Avila as well.
So we've talked about Stewart and Castellanos and Candelario and Hicks, all these guys that bring some kind of quality bat to the organization. But really can't field to save their lives. And I want to piggyback off of the Hicks conversation really quick, get into that a little bit here. And to him and Griner being the main two guys behind the plate, at least to start the season. Now, you got a guy in Griner, big dude, but can't hit. Can't use that body and size to save his life to hit the ball for power, it seems like, or even to make contact. Then you have Hicks, a capable bat, but more of a first baseman in DH. Thus, it brings up, I think, the conversation that the Tigers have way too many DH bats. Think about it. Guys that just can't field their respective position. And Hicks is another one who I really defended last year, advocated for to play more often because of his bat. The thing is, though, as he got more and more at bats down the stretch last year, his bat did tail off a bit. That he got hurt himself, I believe, as well.
Yep, he did.
You had all of that added up, and then you don't really have a starting catcher there, right? You don't have a starting catcher in Hicks, and you definitely don't have one in Griner. And that's a big concern for me as well, among many concerns that I have for the current state of this Tigers ball club.
Yeah, I look at it as a sense of you don't really plan on winning this year. So catcher is going to be a position of need when you get to 2020 and 2021 when you're looking to start spending money. I'm not going to project free agency out there, but let's say you look at dealing Castellanos at the deadline. Am I against that? At this point, yeah, I'd love to see him in a Tigers uniform. I think he's even made comments where he wants to be in a Tigers uniform. But let's say you deal him, and instead of prospects, you get a serviceable major leaguer catching. You get a viable option in left field. Let's say you pick up those two. Quickly, Stewart moves over to right field. You hide him over there. You have a better outfielder in the other corner, and boom, you have a starting catcher. Those are areas where you can start moving pieces around if you see the progress in Stewart, if you see a lot of different areas. Yeah, catching's an issue. Grayson Griner, he's not an MLB catcher.
No.
Not right now.
Not by any stretch. Will he ever be? That's the question, right?
Neither was James McCann.
More of a quality starting backstop. Now, I don't think he's a starting backstop, but more of a guy that could do it. Now, he couldn't hit last year.
Yeah.
Year before, had the arm, had more of the bat, hitting for pop. And I think he can hit more for pop consistently than Griner. And it's just hilarious to me. Griner, once again, this big dude, doesn't equate to power, though, because I don't think he has much of it or any kind of consistency with the bat.
No, it looks like his bat drags the zone a little bit.
Yeah, he's slow to hit the ball. Yeah.
But let's say if he projects as a major league backup, because he's not too bad behind there defensively. And he's big enough where he's probably going to be able to transition to first base and maybe a few positions as he gets older in the major leagues and gives him a little bit more versatility. So you can transition that into a backup role, maybe similar to what Hicks is doing if John Hicks ends up ultimately being the first baseman. The one positive thing that you can look at is there's a little bit of versatility with how bad these guys are defensively because who cares? Throw them anywhere, and we're just going to keep throwing the bat out there and seeing what runs we could produce because hopefully our pitchers can produce enough easy outs for our defensive team.
You know what? I've said this to my brother now, and it's using some hyperbole, but Hicks, I would rather have behind the plate and having 8 pass balls than starting Griner there almost because Griner is that subpar with the bat. I mean, I know that's a stretch. I'm using hyperbole once again.
Yeah.
But I would almost rather have Hicks behind the plate making those mistakes, missing some balls, than Griner, who can field better, more adequate right behind the plate, but can't hit to save his life, it looks like.
I worry about using Hicks so much behind the dish that his legs start going in a similar Joe Mauer fashion where the bat is no longer in existence, where he's sore, he's hurt, he can't drive the ball to the outfield, and that's where Griner's going to get a lot of what's going on. It's a tough slope, and I use Joe Mauer because, once again, that's a Gardy guy, and he's been around that, and he's seen it, so he's talked in the early going. I was watching the Tigers Caravan last night just as a replay. And
At what time, by the way?
It was around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
You got nothing better to do, Brenden. But watch that.
I live, eat, and breathe this stuff.
That's all right. It makes sense. You're on Tigers Talks. That makes sense.
It was
we'll
after the Tigers game, so it was later than that. It was probably around 10 or 11 or something.
Okay.
But regardless, I was watching that, getting a good feel for it, and he said he really liked Hicks in Gardenhire. And if he likes him, he knows how to deal with those kind of guys that are power hitting catchers. And don't get me wrong, Joe Mauer was phenomenal behind the plate as well, but his bat's what carried him in the big leagues for as long as he was there, because at the end of his career, he wasn't a catcher. He was a decent first baseman at best defensively, but he could swing the stick a little bit and still pop a gap here or there. So hopefully that that projection pans out to half as good as Joe Mauer was, and we'll see. But yeah, when you look at Avila, I'm guarantee if you ask him, hey, 2021, what's one position of need? The top one's probably going to be catcher, and who knows where he'll come up with that catcher across the major leagues.
Or it's Jake Rogers, right? He could be the guy, too, behind the plate. Now, I think also the concern with him is hitting the baseball. But you know what? Hasn't that been the long-standing tradition of Major League Baseball where the catcher has been the subpar hitter? For a large part of baseball's existence, right? It's been that way, too.
Yeah, you want a guy that can handle the staff. He's going to hit 8 in the worst batting spot of the lineup. You want a guy at 9 that could roll it over for you. So your catcher's going to hit 8, and if Greiner's a great catcher and could miraculously put it together and hit 250 for you, well, you take
That'd be all right then. If he can get to 250, see, I'm not going to predict that. And
no,
really
I'm thinking
quick.
220 maximum.
Okay, so yeah, a game of Big Vito's over-under. It's a widely popular game, nationwide, worldwide.
I'm ready.
Obviously,
I'm so excited.
You ready for it?
Oh, yeah.
So, Greiner, the chances of him hitting 250 at least are what? Above or below 25? Or no, I'm going to go above or below 20%.
Below.
Okay. Because you just
Final answer,
said
below.
And you said 220 is what you expect, actually, too? What do you expect out of Greiner?
I hope 220.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 210 Mendoza line area if we get that high. I mean, you were flirting with that with McCann too, so
yeah, you
I'm
did
not
last year.
saying
You're
one's
right.
better than another as you look back on the Tigers and forward with the Tigers, but yeah, it's going to be ugly behind the plate. At least he can field. It looks like he has a pretty decent command of the pitching staff. I know we're really early, but last year when he came up, it seemed like his rapport was pretty good with very limited action with the big club. So hopefully you draw something there for the first couple of years, and then you let him bounce around and find his way in the majors after, once the Tigers put a big emphasis on winning again.
And then up the middle, you have the catcher, the second baseman, the shortstop, and then in center field. And you already brought up Jacoby Jones's absence right now, being on the IL to start the season. Now, when he gets back, hopefully he hits better than Mikey Matuk, who I used to like, even love, I can say, had a strong affection for Matuk, because he could hit.
Hey, he's a man rocket.
Had
He
a
looks
good, right? He looks good out there. Yeah. Sexy man. I like sexy men out there in the outfield. Anywhere on the baseball diamond, actually. So he could hit when he first came up. Remember that half of baseball he had? Hit the heck out of the baseball. Ever since then, he's tailed off, had a subpar first half last year, too, when he was on the Tigers' big league roster. And ever since then, he really hasn't hit. Jones has barely hit, too, but how much do you think they're missing the presence of Jacoby Jones out there in center field right now, too? And will continue to miss his presence until he returns.
In the outfield, you miss him a ton.
Because defensively, right? I mean, first and foremost.
And Matuk, if I remember correctly, he's 0 for 13.
Was 0 for 13 going into Monday night's game against the Yankees.
And
yeah.
Jordy Mercer only got the only 2 hits for the. So it's either worse than 0 for 13 or 0 for 13.
Or that, which is bad enough.
So,
yeah.
And injured Jacoby Jones can produce that for us as well.
There you go. So you know what? Bring him up, Hurt. Obviously, he can field probably still better than Matuk out there
too. Who cares if he gets hurt again, right? I mean, whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we want him to be healthy, and because of his glove, he has a sexy glove out there. Matuk is decent with the glove.
Gold glove
Jones,
caliber.
The thing is, like you said, though, it's about the average too. What does he hit? Because it looks like nowadays, it's always been this way, right? If you can't hit, then you don't win the Gold Glove.
Yeah,
which is a shame, right?
The magic number is like 252 or something.
A little bit above it, yeah.
You just got to hit over 250.
Yep.
But yeah, hopefully he can do that. But let's look at it. You put Jacoby Jones with some speed in the 9-hole. Maybe he'll run into one here or there. He turns the lineup over for Harrison, who could bunt, who could do some things. Then you're talking about potential run production outside of having a center fielder that can get to the gaps at Comerica Park, which that's something. You need somebody to get to the gaps because Castellanos isn't getting there.
No, he's not. Stewart's not
going to take the right track to the ball. He might have some speed, but he's not going to take the right route to the ball. At least at this point, you never know. He'll grow into that form, hopefully, eventually. But Jacoby Jones is the X factor for a not so very good Tigers team. But we'll see. Hopefully he comes back healthy and he's ready to roll, because I know he's made comments about feeling snubbed about not getting the Gold Glove last year, and hopefully that can drive him not only out in center field roaming, but at the dish as well. Maybe a few more bunts, maybe working with him in a hit and run possibility to hit behind an infielder. Hopefully we're scratching and clawing. I mean, that's what Tigers do. So we got to find a way to win a ball game here or there.
And Jones has to be better than an 0 for 13 Matuk. I mean, God, right? Anybody is. You and I could get one hit, maybe I don't know.
I might be able to
Maybe
make
you,
contact.
right?
There's
At
a
least
chance.
touch the ball.
I played
and
at
maybe
America
it bloops,
once.
right? You did.
One
Catholic
time.
League title?
Yeah, it was.
If you sell one?
That was big time.
That was big time. How about the big slide into home? I remember that.
You remember
I was
that?
there.
That is gold.
Right? That was an epic moment. So
That might be the highlight of my baseball career, an over-the-top slide. But and other than that, I mean, Matuk talked about changing his swing in the offseason.
how many guys work on their swing, right? Like I say to myself, I worked on my swing too in the offseason. It means nothing. I mean, like
I was working on my arm earlier today. I was playing
Right?
catch with my brother out front. It was a nice day out.
throwing
Does that
apples or
count?
something. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it means anything, really.
No, it doesn't mean much. I mean, if you're not working on your swing, you're not working on your craft, you're not doing your job in the off season. So, yeah, he's probably going to be back down in Toledo very quickly, and that'll be as soon as somebody comes up. As soon as Jacoby Jones gets healthy, Matuk goes down to Toledo. You see more Nico Goodrum in the outfield. That's my prediction for the Tigers, if you will.
Yeah, Mikey, a sluggish bat. Just not cutting the mustard seed right now. Now, how about Daz Cameron out there? One day, maybe even at some point early this season. What do you think about him and his potential out there?
I have to believe it's an arbitration issue. I haven't looked into it too much, but to me, it's we want another year of him under our umbrella.
It has to be that service time, right? Is what you're getting
It has to be
at.
service time because he's going to be able to get up and he might be able to run into one. He had a great spring and he could play center field for us because we've seen he can play out there. And then you have Jacoby Jones as your fourth outfielder, and he gets the opportunity to come in and be that defensive specialist late in games for a Christian Stewart so we don't have that debacle of last night. Or moving Castellanos to DH and Cabrera to first base. There's more options there. I think Gardenhire is going to treat the Tigers like an NL team with as much moves are going to have to go on in order to secure a few ball games, but hopefully the back end of the bullpen helps us out. I mean, Joe Jimenez or Jimenez or what do you want to say?
Jimenez. I called him Jimenez.
We got a lot of different
Close enough,
areas there, and then
but-
Shane Green in the back end. That
Do you like that?
formidable.
Yeah? You think it's good enough? I mean, on this ball club, it's good enough. So my question really is to spin it around a little bit. If the Tigers were a competitive team contending for the American League Central Division crown, would you be fine with this back end of the bullpen? Because it
Yeah.
sounds like you are fine.
I would be because
Okay. Explain yourself,
Green's going to be able to give us a couple innings out of the back end. He had a good year last year. Joe Jimenez, he's been good. He's been solid. I know he gave up the bomb in Toronto. That stunk, but he was solid, formidable, and why not? You've seen Tigers bullpens in the past that are making stretched runs for the pennant. They look a lot worse than this.
They have in the
So,
past.
we have-
Papa Grande, I mean, comes to mind too.
Hey, Papa Grande, greatest single season in the history of a closer, so that's not too bad. But
No.
yeah, I mean, you've had the roller coaster that was Todd Jones as well, and Troy Percival, if you want to throw him
Didn't
in the
even
mix.
last, got hurt. He was
Yeah.
done. Yeah, so a lot of guys they've tried out who have flamed out, right?
Yeah, and Joel Zamaya is another one for you. But let's stick with Greeny. I think he's got something there in the back end, and the kid's young, so he'll be able to set up a few ball games for him as well this year. That's the least of my worries. My big worry always is volume from the starting pitching staff. Who's going to throw? How long are you going to throw? And then do we have the horses in the middle to bridge that gap to the late end of the ball game? I think bullpen Blaine, he's a good guy out there. He'll be able to help out a little bit. Verhagen still on the club. I haven't seen him yet this year, but we'll see what happens there. But we're not in the business of making a stretch run, so
No.
I don't got to worry about that one too much yet.
Not by any stretch. Now, the pitching depth. Now, outside of the bullpen is a concern to me. The bullpen might actually be the strength. I'll give you that much of the entire staff. The rotation, I mean, God. Zimmermann and Boyd are your 1-2 because Fulmer's out for the season, as we know. He's undergoing Tommy John surgery at some point here. So he'll miss a couple of months of 2020, too, to say the least. So you don't have him until then. You've got a 1 through 3. I'll go this far now in the Tigers rotation. Jay Zim, Boyd, and then Norris. I mean, or more. I mean,
Turnbull?
Turnbull.
He
Yeah,
looked
because
good.
Turnbull right now is in the rotation, not
Yeah.
Norris. You're right. Norris, I think, will be in there.
Yeah.
For me, my standpoint, when I look at Norris, if you really want to optimize his potential as a big league arm and get the most bang for your buck out of him, he's got to be a big league starting arm at some point again, too. Not just a long reliever or middle reliever.
Hopefully. I mean,
That's the hope.
I'm
I'm not saying I'm optimistic or projecting it, but I'm saying that's the hope, man. This guy is still young. He's a lefty. I know he could be a lefty specialist, but those are guys that flame out as starters. Like, he shouldn't be a flamed out starting pitcher yet. He's only 26, I believe.
yeah,
you know?
he needs more time. I love him as a 7th inning guy where he can come in and fire BBs at the dish and call it good. Obviously, he's too young. Give him 2 more years to start. We're not going anywhere as a team.
That's what I mean. Let him get bombarded and shellacked, right, in the rotation right now. That's how I view it. When you're not going anywhere, like you said.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So let's see what happens. I'm with you on that one. I like what the pitching staff looks like right now. I know I'm probably one of the few Tigers fans that can say that, but like I said earlier, you have a couple of guys that are literally fighting for their major league lives. This is a 1-year tryout for the rest of their careers, if you will, and Matt Moore and Tyson Ross, who pitched yesterday. Those guys have to lay it all out on the line the rest of the season. So you're going to hopefully catch lightning in the bottle there, kind of similar to Francisco Liriano. Was he pitching for his career? Probably a little bit less so. But you get to see some guys grinding it out every day that are going to hopefully give you some depth. They're going to want the ball going into the late innings because if they don't get it, they might not have the chance next year.
Yep. And Mike Fiers, think about it too. You brought up Francisco Liriano. Fiers turned out to be this great reclamation project who they traded to the A's, got somewhat of a quality return, right? Now, obviously, it really wasn't going to be a great return for Mike Fiers at this point in his career. But my point is, he kind of resurrected his career and was the A's go-to guy at points last year. And was their opening day starter
I was going to say,
this season
opening
too?
day
How about that? Now, that speaks volumes about the lack of rotation depth there in Oakland. But still about Fiers and what he's done to rejuvenate his major league career, too.
I don't know what's going on with Oakland, but how do they win baseball games?
They won 97
They
games
have
last year.
less talent than you or I. Mean,
right?
Chris
It's
Davis,
something
that's
else.
it.
Something else,
man. That's amazing to me what they're able to do out there. He had another home run last night, Chris Davis.
It's 4 home runs already,
He's
right?
probably going to hit about 247 this year. I don't know. All you baseball nuts
Same
can laugh
thing,
at that
right?
one.
Same thing as the past 2 seasons, so I could expect that out of him, too. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Mike Fiers, that was a good deal for the Tigers. You pick him up for a 1-year deal. You get a return. Is it a great return? Sure, because you're not going to get much else. So hopefully they can spin that around with Ross and they can spin that around with Moore. And then you bring up some of these arms from AAA or AA, Faedo, Manning, Bo Burrows, or whatever. Some guys like that, they're going to get the shot this year, and hopefully it pans out.
So how excited are you for opening day? I'll be there, by the way, via the DSP network. We will be there to cover the action. I think we're going to get there bright and early, too, so it'll be a day-long festivity for us. Great experience is what we're expecting, too. How about you? Being excited for it, and will you be there, by the way, on Thursday?
I won't get to be there. I got a pretty big meeting in the morning up on campus, but I am taking the afternoon off. I'm going to belly up at the bar, and I'm really going to enjoy opening day for all it's worth. I'm jacked. I'm excited. There's nothing like baseball season. It gives you something to do literally every single day of the summer and going into the fall. That's the best thing for you is baseball's always there. It's not going anywhere. You don't have to wait a couple of days for the Pistons to play or the Wings to play. You're ready to go rock and roll tomorrow. And that's what I'm most looking forward to for Tiger baseball. Listen to Shep in the early going. I like Shepard a lot.
Yeah, what do you think of the booth, by the way? Is it too dull? I guess it isn't for you then.
For me, I like Shep. I am an absolute baseball nut and enthusiast about anything going on. So last night, yes, I watched the game, and Jack Morris is sitting there talking to Reggie Jackson about baseball.
That was cool, wasn't it?
That was awesome.
2 Hall of Famers.
I hope the Tigers get to do more of that this year. It's not going to be the most lively group in the booth, if you will, far from.
Unless you put Simo up there.
But if you could get some of the enthusiasts, some of the Hall of Famers that Morris has played with, he played in a lot of different places too. So he's going to be able to go to Minnesota and maybe pull Joe Mauer or Justin Morneau, guys like that to come into the booth and give you different perspectives on baseball. It's going to be a learning season for Tigers fans if you want to sit there and actually listen to the ball game. But hopefully, maybe moving forward, Morris isn't going to do it too much. He had a Hall of Fame career. He doesn't need the money from Fox Sports Detroit. Kurt Gibson, he's got a lot of stuff going on too. I don't know how much he's going to be around. I think Shep's going to be around for quite a while. This is his dream job. He does it pretty well. I really like listening to him, but you never know. Craig Monroe, best looking man in Metro Detroit, Johnny Kane, he could be up there. There's a lot of different guys out there that could help out.
Well, the thing is, I view it like this. So for the baseball purist out there that knows about the 84 team and their success and the Bless You Boys and that great run they really had in the 80s, the entire 80s of the decade, well, you love then Jack Morris and Kirk Gibson. But if you can't relate to them, which is the fact with a lot of us, the younger demographic, you and I being 25 and the 25 and below range, or even 25 to 30, really can't relate to those guys in the booth because they never saw them play. I just think, based on that note, Brenden, that they don't bring enough to the table. And you need the more young, enthusiastic voice up there in the booth, game to game, to draw the viewer in that's the younger viewer. That's all I'm trying to say.
2021, Vito. We're going to start winning baseball games, and we're going to make a change in the booth.
Right, there we go. Wholesale changes.
Wholesale changes.
So
that's where I'm at. Everything the Tigers are going to do, 2021, that's when the World Series is going to start piling back in. No, I'm with you. It's a baseball purist booth right now, and you got to inject SEMO up into the booth if you want to get some of that younger demographic listening to the game and paying attention to the Tigers. If you can make it fun, that's going to be awesome. Do I know how Shep and SEMO would get along up there? Not really.
I don't know. Yeah, but have to try it out. Inject some energy, like you said, right?
It can't be much worse than Rod and Mario, so we got to try something somewhere.
Yes, we do.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm just excited to watch the ball club, and I could flip it off and listen to the buggy whip of Jim Price and Dan Dickerson on the radio, too, if I wanted to.
So how big of a problem do you think Major League Baseball has with attracting the younger viewer? Because I see it as a large-scale issue for Major League Baseball, widespread right now. How about you?
Well, let me preface by saying I'm a baseball purist.
Yeah, so for you and I, it's different. But like I said, for the normal dude that's 25 or younger, or even 30 years old right now, I feel like has a hard time relating to Major League Baseball as it is right now, despite all of the young stars that baseball has.
Yeah, I see it. However, or I don't see it, I guess, is my thing. I hear about it. It's talked about quite a bit. But then I go and see Bryce Harper sign a $300 million contract. Then I go see Mike Trout sign a $430 million contract. People are obviously watching. There's television contracts all over the place. There's marketing dollars being all over the place. The big thing is that Mike Trout doesn't like to be advertised as much as LeBron James. Well, so be it. Not many people do. So giving you that opportunity to look at other players, Bryce Harper's everywhere. If you go to Houston, I guarantee you Carlos Correa and George Springer are all over the place. Justin Verlander is a huge name. Miguel Cabrera could walk in anywhere in Detroit and get whatever he wants. I think names are big, but baseball always has been and always will be a regional sport. It's a regional, depending on what your area is, what team it is. The Tigers are going to be terrible. Guess what? Comerica Park in downtown Detroit will be absolutely rocking on opening day. It has nothing to do with the team. It's those specific areas love those ball clubs, and those regional TV contracts are going to hold weight for quite a while. I think baseball's okay. Yeah, there's going to be that influx of, I can't even think of the word I'm looking for right now, but
the lack of influx of youth, I would say.
There's
right?
not going to be as much young talent maybe in there, but I think baseball's going to be fine. There's right now, it's a long haul to get to the big leagues. Who wants to go to rookie ball? Who wants to go to single A, double A, triple A before finally getting the big money in the show? What do you want to do? You want to go to the NFL? You're in the league right away. You want to go to the NBA? You're in the G League for maybe a year, if that, and you're in the show again. It's one that baseball has that uphill battle, but I think you're always going to be able to find people to dig in and be ready for it.
Well, how about the year-round grind, too, for these players? Like, people don't realize it. You and I do. Those that have played it, realize it. It's 162 games, so it's a hell of a marathon of a season. It's not like any other sport out there. So I think for the players to be willing to do the advertisements, too, is a long stretch because they're already making guaranteed money. They're playing almost every single day of the season, Brenden, for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to do any commercials and spot sets, right? They don't have the time or want to make the time for it.
You finally have a day off, and you want to use that day off. I mean,
then if you have a family.
You have a family.
Right?
You have a lot of different things going on. I think the biggest thing baseball can do, and this is me knocking on the door of the MLB offices, is going to be paying your minor league players.
More money, right, than what they earn.
A $430 million deal to Mike Trout. Give him $300 million and split that rest of that $100 million to the minor leaguers that you have in your system. You want to make baseball more viable? Pay athletes more. What's the big problem with the NBA and the G League? Those guys don't get paid enough. So you start paying tiers of low A, A-ball, double A, triple A. They get tiered, paid more, and more. And let's say your triple A salary is $300,000. That's worth it. And then you get to the big leagues and it's $500,000 as your minimum or whatever it may be. Now you're making baseball more viable for a lot of different people. If a guy sitting in A-ball can make $60,000 a year, awesome. That's an income for you and I and every other average American walking out there. $60,000 a year, that's a heck of a way to go about it. So that's what's going to be able to make a big difference as far as baseball goes moving forward. Because more people play where the money's at. And I think the $430 million contract to Mike Trout, or whatever the exact number was there, that gets attention. kids are going to say, ooh, I want to try this sport because look how much money I could make. That's what it is. How many kids grow up saying they want to be a lawyer and a doctor? Well, why? Because those people have a lot of money. Same goes for sports. I think baseball will come around. I think it'll be all right. I'm not too sure how I feel about all the projected rule changes moving forward, but once again, baseball purist. It's one that it could change. Baseball will keep going. They're still going to be played 162 games, and it's going to be played all over the place. You go to St. Louis, they're not struggling. Detroit opening day is not going to struggle. Yeah, the ballpark's going to be scarce a lot this year, but you find that at Yankee Stadium now too. So even in the
you did Monday night. I mean, look at the attendance, right? When you watch the game on TV on FSD, it's not like they were packed. And it's the ticket prices, the concession prices, the parking prices, all of that, right, has to go down because it's way too much money for the normal, the average family right now to afford.
But the Yankees are still making money.
Yep.
Giancarlo Stanton's still making $300 million. Aaron Judge is about to make $300 million. There's money to be had. It's out there.
The TV revenue, like you brought up already, right, is extremely profitable right now.
So it'll be all right. It's a downturn because we want instant gratification, and to a degree, you and I both want instant gratification.
Right.
That's just the nature of the beast. But to be able to go through the grind and see what happens in the future, I think baseball will still be there. It's America's pastime. People can tell me it's football all they want, but it has been baseball. It's around for 162 days. It's not around for 16 weeks or whatever it may be.
So tell me your opinion about this, and we'll leave the discussion for this week's episode of Tigers Talk at this, too, with Brenden Kudla, a great guest co-host here with me. And we're recording this at the Delta Resort. Lovely place to stay at. It's where I live at, so I call it the Delta Resort. But anyways, I wanted to ask for you to give your opinion about these big-name players re-upping with their teams before they hit free agency. And you brought up Mike Trout. Piggy, backing off of that, because he got the 12 years of $430 million, I believe, in totality. Ton of money to re-up there in L.A. with the Angels. Is that good or bad for baseball, though? You see the trend now. Ronald Acuna with the Braves just re-upped earlier today, the day of this recording, Brenden. And other guys have started doing that, and that's a trend now. Is that a concern, you think, for Major League Baseball? And does it hurt the game and the popularity? Because I think it does. And I think it does, Brenden, because of the fact that now in free agency, you don't have these big names being available to bid on, right? You won't have as exciting a free agent classes. And we saw already when you had two big names, Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, available this past offseason, where still there weren't a lot of bidders. And I know that's why these players now are re-upping. They're thinking they want to get paid by the team they're on right now instead of waiting until free agency and then trying to get paid and maybe not getting as much money on the open market. Yet as a fan, I think, and pundit alike, I think it's a concern for Major League Baseball moving forward. What do you think after all of that I just said?
I don't think it's an issue at all.
So why is that now?
It comes back to what I talked to you about, the regionalization of baseball and how each region is so specific and unique. That's what it is. Mike Trout said, you know what, I'm all in to the Angels. Any Angels fan will absolutely love that. Acuna for Atlanta, they're absolutely going to love it. I'm invested into your city. I'm invested into your ball club. Do they know it's the guaranteed money? I don't know if I'm getting it elsewhere. We're not going to look at that. We're going to look at it as wow, Miguel Cabrera re-signed with the Tigers. He didn't even look at going to Boston or New York where he could DH and win titles in a very small ballpark league of the AL East. I think it's awesome. Why not sign with the team that drafted you, the team that you're with? I think it does great for that regional brand. It's going to create those guys, not if they were a celebrity in their hometown as it was, but giving you the opportunity to be even a bigger celebrity. That's your home for the rest of your life. You signed on for the full term of your athletic career with one organization. You talk to your dad, you talk to your aunts, uncles, whoever it may be. Al Kaline, Mr. Tiger, he spent his whole career there. Mike Trout's going to be Mr. Angel. Acuna could be the next Mr. Brave.
Right?
It creates those legends in those markets. And yeah, is it going to be sexy or great for the nationwide brand of baseball? Not as much, but you go ask the mayor of Atlanta, whatever it may be, what that's going to mean to have that superstar there for that long, or LA very similarly. I think that's awesome, and that's unique to baseball. Baseball has always kind of been an outlier when you look back at it.
And let me ask you this, too. I don't know how much more time you have remaining here, but...
Not all the time for you,
Oh, great.
Let's keep rolling.
I love that, man. I love that. Now, Bryce Harper signing with the Phillies, Manny Machado with the Padres. See, I view that as a money grab for those guys, and I get we want to make as much money as possible, but I really think that a lot of these guys that are signing now are looking to cash in rather than play for a contender. Do you think that's the truth? I think it's always been that way pretty much anyways. But I think we saw that for sure this offseason with Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Now, I know the Phillies are an up-and-coming team. They had a good first half last year. Padres might be good long-term. But like Machado had that contract offer from the White Sox, who haven't been good since 2012, right? When the Tigers ended up coming back and winning that division crown. But the White Sox are this up-and-coming ball club maybe as well with the nice young farm system. The Padres have that nice young farm system talent as well. But if you were going to go to the team that maybe had the better chance of winning, I mean, it's very close there between the White Sox and Pods. So I view it as if these guys are signing for the money with these teams. You know, they could care less about, I think, truly winning year to year. And maybe a bigger example is Mike Trout with the Angels. What have they done for him in terms of building a quality roster around him? Really nothing. And now they're restricted a bit, have been, and they are moving forward because of contractual obligations. And with his deal, you're right. That's just how I view it.
Yeah, for Mike Trout, it's one thing. He also has to deal with the worst manager in baseball for the next couple of years.
Asmus. Yeah. Asmus or Asmus? I don't know. One of the two.
The worst manager in baseball. We'll stick to that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think those guys were money grabs because, let's be honest, Bryce Harper probably looked at the Phillies and looked at the Nationals. The Nationals are the team that's going to win with him. He just went to Philly because they offered him the most money that wasn't the Washington Nationals. Manny Machado, I just don't think he's a winner.
I mean, you're going to the Padres, who haven't been a winner since when, right? I mean, that shows you right there. And once again, they have a nice young farm system, but I truly believe Manny Machado was not looking deeply into that and saying, oh, this team could win now in the next 5 years. I don't think he was really looking at that.
75, San Diego, La Jolla Beach.
Yep.
He doesn't have to worry about it. That's what he's going to do for the rest of his life. I think to a degree, a lot of athletes, you look across the spectrum of athletics professionally, a lot of it's about our brand. What can we do for our brand and what can we do for our money? LA's a good market. Philly's on the East Coast. You're really close to Boston. You're really close to New York. Everything you can do brand-wise is right there. I think that's going to be a trend for some athletes, but you also look at the others. Like we talked about the Mike Trout. His brand does very well in LA because he invested himself. It just depends on what kind of guy you are. You walk down the street, you run into 75 different people with 75 different personalities. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some people in it for themselves. There's going to be some people in it for their family, for financial reasons, and for the betterment of an organization that took the shot on them. I think it just depends on the guy that you have. And you look at the bravado, if you will, of Manny Machado and Bryce Harper. It's the complete other side of the spectrum of a Mike Trout.
Mike Trout is reserved to himself. Doesn't have that budding or hugely energetic personality. So how marketable then is he? And it's a downfall maybe of his brand, but you can't slight him for it. That's who he is, right? Probably who he was growing up, who he's always been. He's not going to change his ways just to become more marketable for the sake of Major League Baseball. I don't think he has to either, Brenden.
His brand, he's got $430 million that says I don't need a brand.
Right?
I'm my own guy.
He's already guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of Major League Baseball, too. Like the NFL is picking up its ways of spending more money and guaranteed money on players. But Major League Baseball has had the edge on every single professional sports league for a long time now in terms of guaranteed money.
And that's my big thing is baseball's dying. No, it's not. Look at the money everyone's
right,
getting.
The money is still out
and
there.
It's still
it is
guaranteed. There's not going to be an AAF situation where they shut down the league 50 games into the year. It's not happening. Baseball's fine. You're ready to go. There's deep pockets in baseball. And we'll see what happens in the next collective bargaining agreement because I think the owners are going to chip away at that a little bit. But it's still one that baseball's going to be just fine. They're working their way through not signing free agents. But now you've seen the players take the opposite trend. Justin Verlander, very outspoken in regards to the free agency situation. What does he do? We'll give you $66 million for a 2-year extension. Yep, where do I sign?
Forget free agency,
okay.
right? So, forget about becoming available on the open market.
He's barking about it.
And then he just signs anyways.
And then he's like, well, you know what? $66 million in 2 years, that's tough.
It's hard to pass up that. And I get that. It'd be tough for you and I. And you want to see these guys that are outspoken to have their opinions, voice it via Twitter or other platforms. But then it's almost disproving what he was saying when he signs that contract to re-up, right?
It's easier to have one bird in the hand than two in the bushes, and that's exactly what they're offered. And is it a way that owners are sneaking around it? Sure. But is it better for the player to have the guaranteed money? Yes. Go ask Le'Veon Bell how he feels about that. If you want to go talk to a different player, let's say, in the NBA, he had everything he wanted, Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City. Oh, no, he didn't. He wanted to go there. There's less of that drama. There's less of that in baseball.
And maybe for the detriment of the league. I mean, in the NBA, it's become a global game. Baseball has tried it. I mean, they had the Japan series with Ichiro, but now Ichiro retiring. I know you have the Dominican Republic players, you do have the Venezuelan guys, but it's still less, I think, of a global game than the NBA, and I think it's to the detriment of Major League Baseball, too.
There's a lot of people in Asia, and there's a lot of people in North and South America. If that's what baseball is going to have to be as a half of the globe game, then I think it's still going to be able to survive on.
You're still attracting a lot of people. You are at the end of the day. You're right.
And if you want to say, going back again to the regional side of it, regionally a part of the globe where it's only half of it, you get a lot of attention over in. I've been to games in Japan. A great friend of mine, the family played over there professionally for the Tokyo Giants. It's college football is what baseball is over in Japan. And you heard when Ichiro retired, what do they say? He's bigger than Michael Jordan. He's bigger than Michael Jackson. He's bigger than LeBron James all put together. He's the Beatles walking downtown anywhere he goes. All the Beatles compiled into one man. You guys are crying at his feet when he retires. He should have retired last year. There wasn't a lot left in the tank. But that's what baseball does. In the right markets, those guys are revered forever. Kaline hasn't put on a Tigers jersey in 30 years, whatever it may be, more than that. And he can't go anywhere without being recognized, maybe asked for a picture, stuff like that. It's one of those guys are legends in the town that they were from, in the town that they played in, the town that they love. Jack Morris, not a Michigan guy, played with the Tigers, and he'll say it. He said it last night on the broadcast. I might not be from Michigan, but I'm a Michigander. I'm a Detroiter.
Now
I'm a Tiger.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. And that's what baseball does to you. It pulls more at your heartstrings than maybe other things because those guys are so invested into those towns. They spend so much of their time there. 81 games a year is held in the same exact city, the same drive to the ballpark every day. You get ingratiated with it. That's your home area. That's where your family's raised. What was it? Bryce Harper and his wife are expecting their first kid. What's he say on Instagram? This is going to be a Philly-raised child. All right, there it is. It's a family aspect to it again. It is a unique perspective of having that in baseball. I think that's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it awesome. Just takes the time to look at it and figure it out and sit through a 3-hour ball game, if you will.
Baseball is a regional sport. I mean, I guess you can make that argument, like what you have brought up already and eloquently. Very nice job
I do what
there,
I can
Brenden.
for you, V. That was my deal sale education.
There we go. Kick it into full gear. But you really have expressed why Major League Baseball, I think, in its core, largest amount of it is about being regionalized, right? And that's the beauty of the game, the regionalization from player to player with the team that they're on. And Bryce Harper, well, he left one team where he was really the face of the nation's capital, right? With the Washington Nationals and really Washington pro sports as a whole. And he went to the Phillies, where now he's, this marketable dude for that organization. Trout is for the Angels. But the thing is now, nationwide, worldwide, who is the most marketable guy in Major League Baseball right now? Because, I think people still are looking for the face of the game, even though I think Mike Trout is staring right at you. Mookie Betts is. JD Martinez is. Bryce Harper is. So who's that one guy to you right now, Brenden?
It's Trout.
It is Trout, yeah.
It has to
because he's the best player in the game. He still has to be, right?
He's the best player in the game, and you know what? He doesn't like doing commercials. He doesn't like being the face, but guess who everyone talks about every day? The best player on the field.
Yeah.
And that's Mike Trout. And in New York and in Boston, it's Mookie Betts. It's Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. And you go to St. Louis, who are they going to talk about every day? Paul Goldschmidt. If you go out to the Bay Area, Madison Bumgarner is a huge topic every single day. It's one that, no, you're not going to get the Warriors are playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh, that's a big rivalry. The nation wants to watch it. But guess what? When you have the Giants play against the Dodgers, someone in North Carolina might not care as much as they care about the NBA. But I guarantee you down there in the Bay Area, that's a big deal in California. It is one of those that you got everyone in that region, and that's why baseball's more regional. And you get those big lucrative deals for the regional networks because that's what people care about. You're not going to get the national brand of Tigers White Sox on a Thursday night.
No, it's not going to draw viewers in.
No.
You're right.
So hopefully the game stays strong in the regional markets, and I think that's what we really have to look out for as baseball purists and lovers of the game is when it really starts to dip in the St. Louis's, they're huge baseball fans, in the Atlanta area, those different areas, those markets, that's when you have to be concerned about baseball. But if $200, $300, $400 million contracts are still being signed, I don't see that in the NFL. You don't see that very often in the NBA. Lucrative money-wise, baseball's still king, and I hope it drops a little bit. I really do, because I think minor leaguers deserve to be able to make a living off of their seasons as well. Obviously, it's not 162 games, but how hard is it to give up $60,000 a year to those guys, knowing they're a piece of that product, they're a part of that organization in the long haul.
And minor league ball is still pro ball, which some people don't realize fully either. That it's not just, okay, you're in a developmental system for your given organization. That is professional baseball, too, that you're playing even when you're in single A, double A, or triple A, Brenden.
They are. It's professional baseball. It's really good baseball. As much as I would like to think, I can roll out there and play against the Great Lakes Loons or whatever, there's not a shot. Now, if you are a baseball fan, try it out. You don't have to pay the big premiums. I know at Tiger Stadium or Comerica Park it's not going to be as much this year, but West Michigan Whitecaps, that's a good ballpark. Grand Rapids is a cool area to go. Lansing Lugnuts is fun. Midland, Great Lakes Loons, like those are great baseball venues and places to go as well. Just as a baseball fan, you want to take the family out for a cheap night, that's something for you too. I know you got listeners all over the state, so who knows? You never know what'll happen, and that creates even more small niche markets of baseball fans all over the place. And minor league baseball, to be completely honest with you, that's my favorite. The best baseball you can have is because those guys are scratching and clawing.
They really care, right? Not a lot of money that they're receiving. And
Yeah, I was lucky enough in college to be a full-time media member with the Loons. I got to go every day and interview those guys. I was lucky. It was probably the best Loon season ever to cover. Julio Arias, Corey Seager, James Baldwin Jr., his dad played in the big club for the White Sox for a while. Manager Razor Shines. That was such a cool experience for me to be able to be a part of, but the crowd was full on the weekend nights and stuff like that. It was a fun time to be around baseball, and I hope one day the minor leaguers get paid, I wouldn't say handsomely, but they get paid well enough where they get paid like a recent college grad. They get paid like individuals that are producing money. Those minor league clubs might be losing money here and there, but the big league club makes enough money to be able to equal that out in the long haul. And I think that's what really could revitalize baseball, if you will, in air quotes for you.
There we go. I like the air quotes, too. For everybody out there, yes, he did give me air quotes. And there are a lot of things going on in the minors for the Tigers. A young team like the Tigers, who are a budding team, right, on the rise. At least we hope.
Hopefully.
By 2021 or 2022. Sometime in the early 2020s, we want a good Tigers major league team to happen. And I think it can be fully realized by 2022, at least. I'm not really going out on a limb because I thought at one point 2020. I don't see that happening. And based on Al Avila's comments in the past about spending money, starting to do that, and Chris Sy, who would have to,
and they caught
make
some
it happen,
flack for saying that. And you know what?
Yeah, a little
I appreciate
bit
it.
At least they were being honest, right?
Yeah.
Transparent. And I like that transparency.
Because now the media is not going to be all over Gardy. Are you going to lose your job? Are you going to lose your job? You can say, no, they told you. We're not starting until
Well, still, the thing is, I hope he doesn't lose his job because next year is the final year of his contract. See, that'd be unfair to him.
He's not,
because he's had no chance to win. I just hope they don't give him an unfair shake.
There's no chance he loses his job. We gave Ausmus 17 chances. We have a good manager now, so we're going to give him a roll of the dice and see what happens.
So what's your bold prediction for the Tigers' major league team this season?
Wow, bold prediction. Third place in the Central.
Okay.
I'm going to say we're going to eclipse the White Sox by about 2 games at the very end of the season and finish in third and not do anything. No playoffs, no nothing like that. But best case scenario, Tigers finish third behind the Indians. I think it's the Twins division to take.
See, I like that prediction. Now, that's a bold prediction. A little bit, at least. Now, Sports Illustrated did predict the Twins, by the way, too, by a game to beat the Indians in the Central. I think the Indians could win by a game or two. But flip-flop it. You can flip-flop it, too. I think it's going to be really close, that division race all season long.
I think the Indians lost a lot over the offseason. Say what you will about Lonnie Chisenhall, that's a big leaguer. Say what you will, Lindor's injured right now. Is he going to come back? Is he going to be fully healthy for the year? You don't know. What's going on with Kluber? Is he frustrated with the organization? You got a lot of different moving pieces. They don't have a catcher. They have no backstop right there. Hopefully, I was hoping that Eric Haas would get a shot. He's a Metro Detroiter. I played against him in high school, and he's in AAA catcher for the Indians now. It's not looking pretty good for him. But still, they don't have a lot there, and I saw the Twins. They pick up Nelson Cruz, Tiger Killer. That means they're going to get about 5 more wins from the Tigers just because simply he's on their roster.
And he'll get 5 more home runs or something, right? Patted on.
I was thinking 7 to 10 in 5 games. That's just how it rolls when he plays the Tigers.
Could happen.
Yeah. They picked up a lot. The Indians lost a little bit. It's all going to come down to pitching at the end of the day. but why not the Twins? That's a younger ball club. Who knows what Rocco Baldelli's going to do out there?
First year on the job. We'll see how he
Yeah.
does.
I mean, you got Baldelli against Tito. You're going to go Francona every day of the week, but I think I'm sick of Cleveland. I'm sick of the Indians, and I'd rather see the Twins win on that front.
Rocco Baldelli, former Ray great, and I love the name. And a smart mind, just like you and
I think he was Polish, right? Rocco
Polish
Baldelli?
maybe too?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go.
Something like that.
A fellow Polish dude. Now, I'm not Polish, but...
No, I mean, he's Italian. It's Rocco Baldelli.
Right? He's got to be
honest.
Italian.
Yeah.
Come on. But I love Rocco. I love that name, and I love Brenden Kudla. Always love recording a podcast with you, sir. And with that being said, great stuff from you today, and I'll let you go.
Thanks, V. I appreciate it. I absolutely love coming on, so seriously, let me know whenever.
We'll be in touch again soon. Have a great day, everybody, and adios.